Welcome to week 5, day 2, where you're going to learn more about the visuals required for the report and how to create them. Let's get started. These are the things we're going to cover in this lecture, ending with captions. We're not going to go over captions because I feel like I've mentioned it before, but sometimes when I teach a class, I can't, can't remember if I actually went over something or not, but you can always find it in the module readings as well, but it is worth mentioning. So the kinds of images you need for project 2 varies. The images always require textual explanations. You can't just, oh, I know the teacher wants 6 images in the report and then just stack them one on top of the other without any captions or without any text explaining their relevance. The text and the images complement one another, and the other cannot survive without the other. So there's 5 static images and 1 dynamic image. So all images, like I've said, require MLA or APA captions, and it needs to be created. All visuals need to be created by someone in the group, except one of the 6 images. There's a caveat to that. We're going to go over it. Starting with the static images. What is that? A static image means it doesn't move. It's just a picture, and that includes a photo, a chart, or a graph. So these are examples of the 5 types of static, non-moving images required for the report. The first one on the left is an aerial map of the impacted location. So from the picture you see right there, they're honing in on a specific city or area in Florida. And so they just cropped like Google Maps or something. And for the word cloud in the middle, that was created by someone in the group. And it's a data visualization depicting something about the problem. So all of your topics, they're problems in need of solving. And one of the image requirements is creating a data visualization that depicts something of the problem. And for this word cloud, you can see there's words in there that seem problematic, like lack, communication, boundaries. So based on either tweets or text that the student found related to a problem of the topic, they went to Voyant and they created just a word cloud that they copy and pasted. And that meets the requirements. Or you could make a chart or a graph that represents something about the problem, or other ways to create a data visualization. We'll get to that. The image with the yellow backed image on the right is a solution, and that can come from a copyright-free source, an image that depicts something of the solution. That's another type static image required for project 2. The Gantt chart on the bottom, that is a schedule for implementing the solution. How many weeks are needed, or months, or even years, and what tasks are needed to get the ball rolling on the solution. You're imagining that you and your project group are actually going to implement the solution, and what sort of schedule is needed for that, but not just a text-based schedule. You're making it more appealing and sort of easier to read through a Gantt chart format. And then the last image in the bottom right corner is a budget, and a budget should always be transparent and include ingoing and outgoing funds. And from those 5 images that we saw, you should have already talked with your group about who is creating which visual and who's in charge of what. And everyone in the group should be in charge of at least one visual, even if it's just procuring a solution image from a copyright-free website. So a Gantt chart, again, is what tasks are needed to solve the problem. Some groups have turned this in and they gave me a breakdown of how they were going to finish the recommendation report, and that's not what I'm looking for. You've already given me that in progress reports. What your imaginary boss is looking for is, when is the solution going to be put in place? As I mentioned, a budget has to be comprehensive. It should have been research, like the numbers that you're getting for the budget should not come out of thin air. They should come from research. If it's an educational or real estate issue, you look up budgets from state, local websites concerning your topic, and like a similar budget that you can emulate, not copy, and adjust accordingly for your needs, your project needs. And the same goes for the Gantt chart. You can't just make up the dates or the tasks needed to implement the solution. It should be researched from a similar solution or project. And this sort of information can be garnered from past assignments in which you had to think of solutions based off similar approaches, and you had to document this. Maybe you pull together your research solutions to come up with these steps for the Gantt chart and then the numbers for the budget. The sixth required image for project 2 is a dynamic image. That means in some way the image moves. This used to be students had to create a minute or less video, but requirements for the university have changed. And now this has to be a GIF or a short dynamic slideshow, short as in 7 slides or less. If it was like 3 slides, I'd be happy with that. And this dynamic image is going to go in the problem section of the report. And so in some way, it's almost like an elevator pitch for the problem, a way to really say, hey, here's a problem, or here's the problem in a visual way. A GIF or the dynamic slideshow has to be original, just like most of the other image requirements. You can use Canva, Word. Someone contacted me and said Sway lets you embed additional little mini presentations in there. So maybe that's the way you're going to go to create this dynamic image. That's fine. And then again, if you're like, I don't know how to create a GIF, even though there's phone apps for that or desktop apps to help you, but a short slideshow feels more your element. It has to have moving elements, and there's examples of that in the assignment details, I believe, or you can email me and be like, what do you mean? And I'll point you to the right direction. This is a password for the day 2 assignment that asked for it. For any and all of these images, you should get creative. If you're the one person in your group and you're assigned to find the solution photo or to copy and paste and then crop the aerial map, you can still make it pretty. You can put a border around it. You can do a drop shadow on it. You can change the color of it, with a filter. Or you can look at examples on other websites for ideas on how to pretty up an image. These are examples either from past student submissions or like 2 of them are from major websites and were not created by students. But you can see how especially the one on the left with the sneakers, the student was comparing the number of shoes owned versus another person. And they did that through the number of sneakers. That was really cool. It wasn't put into their recommendation report, but it was a creative way to show a difference. And then even if you're creating a bar chart down in the left-hand corner, can you pretty it up? Like that person, they were talking about gardening or something, and so they put the types of gardening inside each little bar. So there, you can definitely add color, no matter if you're creating a Gantt chart or a line plot, and play around with how to show off that text or the numerical data, so that not only is the purpose clear, but it's appealing to the audience. These are ideas for apps in which you can go to create your visual design. And you can even just go to wherever you download apps and type in budget. You can type in chart, and then you'll get free options for that. If you do access Canva, and I've probably showed you that website before, if you type in budget, it's going to bring up some, but it's mostly like personal budgets. It's not really for this project. But Gantt charts, it has a lot of different examples, and they're easy to mess with. Or if you type in data visual, it will bring up different ideas for you too. So Canva, I love Canva. And if you're the one that's supposed to find a picture depicting the solution, because that is a requirement for the report, and there's a section on the report where you have to talk about the solution and all of that. You need a picture to start that off, and that does not have to be created, but it does have to be curated. It has to be found, and it needs to be a copyright-free image, because even in the professional world, you should be finding copyright-free images. And these are options. I'm sure you have your go-to website. I know a couple of you have reached out to me and told me like, oh, here's another website I can use for that. And I forgot to add it to this list, but I know some of you have other websites you go to, and you can use those too, as long as you add a caption and the website in some way says like, these are copyright-free images, or then you can use them for the report, and you can use them if they're relevant. And then again, all images need to have captions, and you can find details for this in the understanding concept sections. And we only have 1 week left after this. Let's look at the assignment for this week, or for this day 2. We have the image design analysis. And this is a discussion post, so you're going to reply. But first, before you do that, you're going to decide, you're going to do some pre-writing or like planning of which image you're going to create. But you should already know that, because with your group, you discussed, I'm going to do this. Or because you've created the work list already, you know which one that you're going to create for this discussion post and for the recommendation report. This is my way of kind of forcing you to do your image early. And some of them have clickable examples, especially the GIF or the short dynamic slideshow. I haven't created a GIF, so I mean, have at it, but I have created a dynamic slideshow. And by dynamic slideshow, I mean, it has to have some sort of moving element. So it's just a slideshow, but there's ways to mess around it with Canva or Microsoft Word or Sway to make sure that there's little tiny touches, flourishes, so that it looks more interactive rather than just a regular slideshow. And it's short, but it's highlighting the problem, not really the solution, even though this example one kind of goes through the problem and the solution. For your report, the dynamic image is just depicting the problem. After you create your image, you need to caption it. And if you have already created an image or you got a word cloud or something, or you created a word cloud from Voyant Tools in a different assignment, you can use that here for this assignment. That's fine. After you create your visual, you need to answer all of these questions too. And then after you've created all these on your last team meeting next week, decide with your team, can we use any of these for the report? I don't care about MLA or APA formatting. I just want you to reply and not attach this because it's harder for people to look at them and for me to grade them. What you're going to do is upload the image you created and you save it as a PDF or JPEG or something. And then if you do that, it should just like it should show up here. And then below, you copy and paste your answers. And that's all you need to do for this post. But you should also look at the rubric beforehand. And it due July 30th at 11:59 p.m. for 20 points. And someone also has to create the memo to the instructor. Whoever was assigned this on the task list can see this. Everyone else cannot. It's a memo that should include these headers. And you see the headers include a preliminary budget and preliminary Gantt chart. And so that the person that's putting together this memo can go to whoever in the group is assigned these two things for help on these two parts. Like, did you create your budget or your Gantt chart? Can I use it for this? If not, they're going to have to just throw together their own. And there is a student sample depicting my expectations for this. It should look like a memo. It should go over all the parts, like the team goal parts, and some of this mirrors language from the team charter, and you kind of work around with the text and make it fit this memo. I'm fine with that. But like any memo, it should always have an intro and a closing. It shouldn't just end with the Gantt chart picture. And it should also have ideas for contingencies about, like, what if your first plan does not work out? And you know these are possible contingencies because you've researched it from an article or something. Again, you have a preliminary budget write-up, like an explanation of the budget and the pictorial representation. And you have a write-up about the Gantt chart and the scheduling, along with a preliminary pictorial representation of implementing that solution through a Gantt chart, and it's captioned. So this is an individual assignment assigned to only 6 students in the entire class. It's due by July 30th at 11:59 p.m. uploaded here. And it's kind of like a progress report, except you're explaining to me details about the assignment, and all of this, the text and the pictures you're putting into this memo can also be implemented later into the Project 2 formal report. And that's it for this week. We'll talk again for week